my background, I think I started my first help desk job about 1991, 1992. I was 3 years old at the time. Now, I was coming from programming, played around in telecom a little, ended up in a help desk, was supposed to be for a year, been doing help desk stuff ever since. So I've both worked in and managed internal-facing help desk as well as external-facing customer support desks before I came to BMC Remedy back in 2001 and started working with customers on getting them to the right solution. Came to RightStar about a year and a half ago. That kind of long preamble is to say I've been there, done that, had that experience. So the first help desk I worked on, we were actually using yellow paper pads to track our tickets. Our big innovation there was we got a free copy of Lotus Approach, which would support 4 people. So we installed a Lotus Approach, had our little ticketing system, started having things online. The next help desk I worked on, we used Lotus Notes to start tracking our things. So I've been there in the trenches doing this, and knowledge has always been a puzzlement. We all know this slide, right? We've all seen these kind of metrics. This happens to be from MetricNet. Every single person on this call knows if you put in a knowledge management support or knowledge management solution, you're going to reduce the cost of support. Just if you can get your self-service people to use it, the level 0 stuff, you're dropping that level 1 support $22 a case. If you get good support for your level 1 people, you're going to drop your level 2 support cost and your level 3 support cost. You're not going to have knowledge walking out of the organization. You're not going to have to reinvent the wheel. Every single person knows this. Regardless of the solution you're using, we all know we need knowledge. But what makes knowledge successful? How do you build this? And I've got commitment on here. Dick mentioned this as well. You've got to be ready to do it. I don't know how many failed knowledge-based implementations I've been involved in over the years. And that's every company I've worked at pretty much. RightStar, we haven't had a failed one yet since the year and a half I've been here. So far, our knowledge is growing slowly, but we are slowly growing it. Every company I've worked with, we've had knowledge bases that kind of go static, that don't work, and it's really around commitment. We finally, at a company I worked with before I came to BMC, we had 150 external customer support agents worldwide. They got a bonus every quarter. We said part of your bonus, you have to do knowledge articles, 3 knowledge articles per quarter to get your full bonus. So management made that commitment. You'll get that's a portion of your bonus. And we did. We would get 3 knowledge articles from every person, all the 150, 750 knowledge articles. And we didn't have anybody to review them. We didn't have the commitment to have the knowledge management experts have the time to go through and review those knowledge articles and make sure the right ones got put out there. So you need the commitment. Now, the cost numbers on the previous slide is one way to get that commitment. Yes, it will absolutely reduce your support costs. The other is, of course, all around the whole problem management and everything and the fighting fires. If we document this stuff, we know how to fix it quickly, and we're less fighting fires. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not oh my gosh, I did this 6 months ago for a customer. How did I do it? Where's that email? I know there was a set of steps. If we take the time documented the knowledge base, we get it written up, we're good. We're going to reduce time down the road, too, on that level 1 side as well. But without management commitment, if you don't have the commitment of your management to a knowledge base, don't even start. I hate to say that, but don't even start. The other thing, when I first started working with BMC, we often charged separately for the knowledge base. It was an add-on rather than included in the core functionality like it often is now in a lot of solutions. It was amazing how many people dropped it out of the final price quote. They were like, you know what? We're willing to pay this much. We're not willing to pay this little bit extra for the knowledge base and for the knowledge base licenses. Because even though everybody knew the value was there, they wouldn't do it. So commitment is number 1 on this. If you're going to build a knowledge base, you need the commitment that you're going to give people time to do it. You're going to give your knowledge subject matter experts time to review the knowledge, and that you're actually going to keep this going moving forward. But you can make it easier for them. If you use standard templates for your articles, how-to has a certain template, known error has a certain template, FAQs have a certain template, basically sets of fields you fill out, you're going to get more consistent knowledge articles, and that makes it easier for people to fill it out. It makes it easier for your subject matter experts to review it. So if you can use templates as you're building out your knowledge articles, you make everybody's life a little easier. Organize content intuitively. What does that mean? We're going to see some examples of it, but there are different ways of doing this. We're going to be looking at a particular way a software does it at the end of this. But there are other ways, whatever your knowledge-based software you're using, they probably have their own means of doing this. So maybe it's through categorizations, and you can look at knowledge by categories. Maybe it's by labels, and based upon what I select, I only see relevant knowledge articles. There are different ways to do this. Just try and think about how you can use labels, categories, keywords, so we can get to the right content. And you have to be able to review the knowledge regularly. You have to make that commitment again. I put commitment twice because that is the most important thing. You got to give your subject matter experts time to review those knowledge regularly, because constantly we're coming out with new software, right? Those of you using RemedyForce, twice a year we've got new versions of RemedyForce out there. If we don't upgrade our knowledge base, review our knowledge base articles on a regular basis, we're going to have knowledge that maybe applies to summer 2013. You're trying to apply it to summer 2017, may or may not work. So review the knowledge, make sure they've got the relevant versions on it. But that summer 13 may still work in 2017. But let's review it, check it, put a label on there saying, yes, it also applies to 2017, or we leave that version off. It's strictly a 2013. Those of you that use Atlassian, you know on their site, they're pretty good about that. Right? They go in, you go onto the Atlassian site, you're looking for knowledge. You can choose your versions pretty well so you get the knowledge articles that match your version. So, and they do that because they review the knowledge regularly. That's something you all can do in your organization as well. And again, commitment, because you aren't going to do it. If you're not going to do all this, the knowledge base isn't going to be as helpful as you want it to be. So why do they fail? Obviously, lack of commitment. Okay, I'll stop saying that one. So one of the things that will keep your users from accessing the knowledge base is that they have to take too many clicks to get to it. If it's, well, you go to here first, and then you go to there, and then you can search the knowledge there, they're not going to do that. So as much as you can serve it up to them right up front, so they start typing in the search box, they start getting some knowledge articles, that's going to help them use those knowledge base. Unuseful knowledge. This is the problem with those 150 support analysts turning in 3 knowledge articles per quarter. 750 articles, there were duplicates, and there were things that really were like, oh, really? You think I couldn't think of that? Or they were along the lines, what's that show, the IT Crowd? They were along the lines of, did you try turning it off and turning it back on again? Customers, end users learn pretty quickly if the knowledge is going to be just try a different browser. Did you try rebooting? They're not going to like that. Now, we all know rebooting works sometimes. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes rebooting is the right solution. The one that drives me crazy is, did you try clearing the cookies in your browser or your browser cache? That one drives me crazy because oftentimes I'm not told that it's actually going to work. I'm told, well, try clearing your browser cache and see if it works. And we all know how much wonderful stuff is in our browser cache these days. There are things out there that I don't want to have to rethink. I want to type a couple characters, get to that web URL, and not have to find it again or rethink about it again. So if you've got knowledge out there that says clear out the browser cache, reboot, and then let us know if it's a problem, people are going to skip those 2 steps unless you have clear warnings, yes, this is actually going to work. This happened to me, not browser cache. It was a little bit different. I use a particular software to mirror my iPad onto my laptop screen during demos. So when I'm doing a demo through the WebEx, you can see what's on my iPad. I was using one particular software. And one day, it came up black screen. You didn't see my iPad, you just saw a nice black rectangle. And they had some knowledge out there about what this could be and things to do. And I tried the first couple things, and it didn't work. And then they sent me this list of things to do that was in-depth, all over the place. I don't even remember what all I had to do. But they were like, well, do this other thing, and do this other thing, and we think this might work. And at about that time, a coworker said, oh, by the way, I'm using this other software to mirror my screen. It works pretty well. I tried that other software. It worked. I'm like, I no longer am using that first software because that knowledge came through, and it was complex to do, and they weren't sure it was going to work. So no, I'm just going to switch to this other product. It was $13. That's fine. I'm just switching. So I'm now using the other product because I didn't have to struggle through that very complicated knowledge article that I wasn't sure would work. Those are the kinds of things I call unuseful. May not be a word, but that's what I call it. Outdated knowledge, we all know this one. It's the classic. I do a search for how do I do something in Outlook, and I get a beautiful article about Outlook 2007, but I'm on Outlook 2013, and it's totally different now. The menus aren't in the same place. The options aren't in the same place. You have to do it differently. So outdated knowledge, and maybe sadly 2007 is probably still useful to a lot of people out there, but try and get the knowledge out there, updated, version specific. Make sure people get the current knowledge first. And of course, too much knowledge. We've all Google searched, right? I was just talking with Dick about this before the call. There was a book I read a few years ago, or I didn't read the book. I read a review of a book. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. A few months later, I'm like, I want to find that book. I want to find what was the name of that book. So I wanted to do a Google search so I could find out the name of this book because I remember the scenario, but I don't remember the name. Well, unfortunately, the scenario that I remembered from the book had actually happened in real life. Somebody had had a similar series of events. So when I went to Google it, I got all the articles about the real life situation, pages and pages and pages of those. I never found the review. I've never found that book. I've got to try again someday. I mean, I tried on different sites. I tried on book sites. I could not get to that book review again because the real life case had just overwhelmed it, and there was way too much knowledge. But there are ways to reduce it for your end users. They don't have to have a Google-like experience. They can have a more limited experience through keywords and whatnot. And the last bullet, I won't hit that. So what we're talking about today in terms of a demo is we're just going to talk about how Atlassian tools can help. It doesn't have to be Atlassian tools. This is not about a specific tool set. This is about process. It's about figuring out who's going to support the initiative, who's going to do the knowledge articles, who's going to review the knowledge articles, who's going to review them on a regular basis, who's going to be responsible for every time you put out a new application, that there's a set of knowledge articles that come with it. The company I worked for before BMC had a variety of products geared to different markets. So when they came out with a new vertical for a particular market, we needed knowledge articles already there to help people walk through that particular software for that particular vertical. We couldn't wait 6 months and come up with a knowledge article. So all those kinds of processes need to be in place. The people need to be in place. The rewards need to be in place. I'm not sure the bonus reward helped. You get your full bonus if you did 3 articles. That worked really well. We got a lot of articles. You may want a more tailored bonus. You may want to say the person whose knowledge articles get marked useful the most gets a better bonus, or gets a free lunch, or gets recognized at the company event, whatever it is. There may be better rewards you can do to make sure the knowledge is useful if your tool can support your reporting. So for example, most knowledge bases that come from most major vendors will tell you how often people viewed or used an article. So that can help you when you go to reward people for those knowledge articles. Gamification tools can help. But so, having said it's about process, it's about people, it's not about tools, I'm going to show you a couple tools. One of the nice things about something like the Atlassian tool set is you can use it alongside other tools as well. I mean, obviously it ties in very tightly to the Jira suite of products, and we're going to see some of that today. But if you also say, you know what, I love my ITSM tool, it's just the knowledge base isn't the best, but wow, Confluence looks kind of interesting, there are things you can do. Status page looks interesting. Okay, so you can kind of tie things together. But obviously today we're going to be looking at it within the Atlassian world because the tools work so well together. Hopefully everybody's seeing my screen. This is what's called status page. You all probably have broadcasts. You probably have major incidents. You've got some way out there. But this is actually a status page is a tool where you can start putting out information about the major services. What's going on with them? Are they up? Are they running, etc.? And then you can even list some of the incidents against them if you want to. And you can do web services, so if a major incident comes in, maybe it updates this page automatically. And then I can even subscribe to the updates, so if any of these actually start getting resolved, I can go ahead and get notified. This is absolutely tier 0, where you want to go to start reducing calls to the help desk. Another case in point, I use myself as an example. 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were on our sales meeting here at RightStar, and I was getting to demo something that was kind of cool, and my system crawled. It pretty much crashed. I had very little internet connectivity. Of course, while Dick was on the phone and my other boss was on the phone, and the system just crawled. So after it, I did a search, and it turned out that was the day the level 3 backbones were going down all over the place because of some kind of DNS attack or something happening. And I'm in the Northwest, and it hit us pretty hard. And at least I was able to tell my bosses it wasn't me, it was a level 3, because there's a level 3 place out there, bulletin board, that tells you the status of the level 3 backbones. And I happened to stumble upon it when I was looking for outages. And so I didn't have to call our poor help desk here at RightStar, who was probably getting flooded by other people in the company. I was able to find that. So more you can put your outages out there, you can reduce the calls, reduce the expense on the back end. Now, you can get to this portal just straight through the URL, or in this case, this is the Atlassian Jira Service Desk portal. I actually just have it linked here. So if I right-click and open in the new tab, and get me to my portal. My coworker, Alan Reynolds, some of you may have worked with, he actually starts in the, sorry, I went to the demo page instead of the status page. He starts in the status page and then moves to the portal. He likes the customers and users to log into the status page first, and then he has a link here to jump into the portal. I do it the other way around. So here's my status page link. I had the wrong link there. So, okay, let's say it has nothing to do with that. So now I need to start putting in an issue. And again, the more you can put out here to help people, the better. So if I start typing in billing here, I'm immediately going to see some possible issues and possible knowledge articles. And of course, today, that's not coming up quite. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. So I've got some knowledge base articles here about what to get. Error 1, 2, 3, 4 SAP, when I'm getting error 1, 2, 3, 4. So depending what I'm on, if I'm using SAP, I want to look at this one. If I'm not using SAP, I won't want to look at that. So right typing here, I'm going to get a set of knowledge articles. So if I type in printer, I'm going to go ahead and get some knowledge articles as well. But that can be too much knowledge. You notice when I did that error 1, 2, 3, 4, it's showing me an error from SAP, as well as an error about the billing system. So what Confluence has that's kind of cool is the idea of labels. So if I select my billing system issue here, and I type in 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm only going to get the billing system knowledge article. I'm not going to get the one referring to SAP, because on the back end, I've said this particular service request should only bring up knowledge articles that have the billing label. So now that's how we get around the too much knowledge problem. Because when you're doing, what did I have, 150 people, 3 articles each, 450 articles a quarter, if we put 1,200 articles out every year in that company that our customers could see, they were going to get overwhelmed really quickly. So I really like this about the way Jira works with Confluence is by that labeling thing, when I'm down on my request type, billing system issue, I'm going to get only things that are relevant to the billing system. So again, when I'm here and I type 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to get an SAP article as well as the billing article. But because I've limited it on my request type to billing labels only, I get fewer. I only get the one that's actually relevant to the billing system. So that's one of the ways you can start limiting the knowledge that everybody's going to see. So let's go ahead and see where that's set up. Here I'm in my Jira project. I'm looking at my knowledge base. On my knowledge base here, it's showing my list of request forms that I have in my system. And here's where I went ahead and put the label of billing. I wanted to add another label. For some reason, it's applied to JQL. I could add a label there. And if I had any knowledge articles that were labeled as JQL, they would now show up when I selected the billing system issue and started typing. So that's a great way to limit the knowledge articles that your end users are going to see, and that's going to be a lot less frustrating to them. And it's going to make it more likely that they find the right answer. And then they don't put in the issue. Instead, they cancel it like I've been doing, and they go on their merry way, and you don't have that ticket come in. But there's another way in terms of limiting articles. There are times you don't want your end users to see a knowledge article, right? There are times when it's something so sensitive, you're going to want only your support desk to see it. So here's the ticket I put in, I think yesterday, on that billing error 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I have an article that's internal only. I did not see this article when I was searching on 1, 2, 3, 4 out in self-service. And this is why. There is no way I'm going to let my end users escalate to a vendor and shut down all the servers. I don't know what's going on with 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's major league serious, and I probably should put a broadcast out about this one if it does happen. So if you want things to be super serious or super private, you can absolutely restrict the permissions. And it's not just internal, external. You've got some things beyond that. So for example, here's my Confluence. I'm in a Confluence space. I've got how-to articles. I've got troubleshooting articles. Here's my getting error 1234. And we can see up here it's unlocked. See that little padlock? It's unlocked. It's unrestricted. All is good. If I go down to my internal one, now we've got that padlock. It's restricted. Everyone has no access. I can view and edit it, and my service desk team can view and edit it. So it's not just about internal versus external. Now you can actually limit it down to the groups within your system. So if I wanted my change management team to do this as well, but maybe I just want them to view it, I can go ahead and add them as well, and now they're going to be able to see this particular article. So granular permissions make sure the right people get to see the articles at the right time, and nobody's doing something that could really cause confusion unless they're the ones who should be doing it. The other thing is I was playing around with this yesterday that I found was kind of cool, was inheriting of permissions. I accidentally did an article in the wrong place because when I go up to create an article, it's basically going to do it in whatever space I'm in. So I did that. I think I was actually on this article, and I went to create a new article, and I did another how-to article. And let me find my how-to article. There it is. I know you all are laughing because you saw it way before I did. It's actually going to inherit those particular permissions, which I just thought was kind of cool. So test of permissions. Here's where I can put in a label. So I'm going to go ahead and label this billing, even though it won't show up on the end user portal. But see, it's automatically already locked. There are inherited view restrictions, and it's telling me who can see this page. I could put additional restrictions on, but it's going to inherit them. By the way, if I need to add a label later, I can always come in here and add, I don't know, if I want to add my existing VPN label, I can add that. If I want to add a brand new label, I can add a brand new label. So I can add labels into articles as well. So I like that inheriting of permissions. I thought, wow, this is a great way to keep from making errors, right? If you're in the right place when you start your knowledge article, it's going to get the right set of permissions. Of course, if you're not in the right place, maybe I wanted everybody to go ahead and see this. I could, of course, go ahead and move it up to the place where I want it to be. So I want maybe the new parent page to be how-to articles. And so it gets up to where it's supposed to be, and I don't have to worry about that as much. Now when I look at it, it sets the permissions, it's unlocked, it's unrestricted. I really like that inheritance. I don't have to think about it in every article. I just have to get it into the right place, and the right kinds of permissions are going to happen. Again, this is how you're going to avoid some of those knowledge-based problems, people seeing too much data, people saying things they shouldn't be able to see, or people doing things when they don't understand the full implications of those. So I know I've kind of gotten deep in the weeds here, but the key things are, for your process and procedure, make sure that your knowledge-based articles are easily visible to your end users. Use status page or broadcast or something to get information out to them, but make sure that they can, when they start typing, that they can see particular knowledge articles, they can see appropriate knowledge articles, and if you can, and it depends on the system, and in the case of Jira, you're able to actually, again, do those labels. So when I type 1234, I'm not getting the SAP one. Not all systems can do that, so use keywords to go ahead and narrow down those knowledge-based articles. Keywords can be helpful in other systems. Beyond that, start thinking about your permissions. Who's going to get to see what? Which ones are your end users going to see? Which one is all of support going to see? And maybe there are knowledge articles that only certain groups in support see. But to do this, I know you're going to groan. It is going to take commitment. So the first step is really, doing a cross-functional team or whoever you want to focus on. Get them in there, get the management support, get the commitment, get it on everybody's job description that they are responsible for either creating knowledge articles or reviewing and approving knowledge articles, or every year whenever a new release comes out, if they're responsible for a particular product, maybe they're responsible for HipChat in your organization, make sure they're responsible for putting out the knowledge articles when a new version comes out. That kind of commitment is how you're going to have success in the knowledge base. As Dick mentioned, we're already working with other customers on the knowledge base strategies, regardless of the product that they're using. So we're happy to help you as well. But Dick, are there any questions right now that have come in that we should be addressing?
Well, there's a couple of things, and thanks, by the way, Ann, great job. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about, but now would be a good time to ask questions. And the first thing I wanted to point out, you all just watched a Jira and a Confluence and a status page demo, but certainly these principles would apply to any type of service desk or knowledge management system. The one thing that I wanted to just to talk about a little bit, and you got into it when you used the Google example, is that I would assume that a lot of knowledge, maybe not knowledge, but at least analysts on a service desk do use Google at times to find answers to certain things, right? And I know for sure that users use Google all the time. Rather than call or email or go to the portal, you just type something in Google and, lo and behold, you've got a whole list of different things that you can potentially do. Even myself, yesterday I was working on a Word document. I wanted to try to figure out how to add a checkbox in there. I couldn't figure it out. I Googled it, and then I was given all kinds of different. I couldn't decide which one was. So I finally just gave up and said, well, it's not that important. I'll just move on. But I think that if you look at the time that somebody, let's say you have a millennial and they're used to finding answers on their own, but look at the time that somebody spends trying to find an answer to their own problem rather than contacting the service desk, it could be a lot higher than talking to somebody that maybe has been there and done this before, or at least has better knowledge tools. Would you agree with that, Ann? You know what I'm asking?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know how many times I've had salespeople within RightStar come to me, because I'm a little bit more on the technical side, and they're asking me questions. And it's like, whoa, if you just contact Shane, he'll have the answer right up front. I can hunt and poke and figure it out, but let's call Shane. And we call Shane, and he has the answer right in front of his fingers, because he's our chief CTO. I mean, he knows our technology inside and out. So sometimes it's better really to go to the source than try and figure it out on our own.
Right. And so in terms of the ROI or the productivity or improved efficiency, this knowledge management really matters, and it can make a huge difference. And it's hard to do that, but I think once you get going and once you get the reputation of having all the answers or finding the answers quickly, you'll make a big difference in your own organization. I know that's true if you're an agent. It's true if you're a user as well. So absolutely.
Okay. And if you can crowdsource knowledge, you could have a request type out there where somebody submits a new knowledge article that then everybody can use. That's also a really great way to get buy-in. Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask about is if you spend any time with any of the different vendors that are out there, they're always, and which makes sense, they're always trying to one up the other, and the objective obviously is to sell more software, and with the idea being how can we improve efficiency and lower costs. And one of the things that's hot right now is artificial intelligence. And in particular on the service desk, it may be a chatbot. So instead of actually, calling somebody and saying, this is what I'm trying to do, can you help me? You just type in, to a chatbot, and the chatbot will spit out the answer to you. Now, what I've found is that when I go and talk to some of the customers, they're having a hard time. I mean, this is true, at least the customers that I'm talking to, but they're having a hard time with just doing basic, problem change configuration. There's still a lot of work to be done in that area, and so it's kind of mind-boggling to me that they're going to suddenly say, okay, well, let's forget about all that stuff because we've tried it and we've done as much as we can, and now we're going to go try to do some sort of AI chatbot. Any comment about that? Do you think that there's certain organizations that will benefit from more of an AI approach to knowledge, and some that probably should spend some more time and get their own house in order first? Would you agree with that too?
Absolutely, and maybe I'm a little old-fashioned, but I find that if I'm doing it through a chatbot, I tend to get the really obvious things first, and I get really tired of that really fast. I want to not be told to reboot. Did you try turning it off and on again? Did you check the obvious things? I want a knowledge article that assumes I have some sense. And if it does have the basic steps, I can skip those and jump down. But if I'm talking to a chatbot, I've got to wait until they keep responding with more complicated things, and I get frustrated really quick. I'm hitting the button, talk to an agent pretty quickly, and I really don't like talking to people because I love talking to my customers. I don't like talking to support agents. I'm terrible that way. So chatbots are going to be good for certain situations, but in other situations, I think they frustrate people. So it depends on your organization.
Right, and I think it's going to depend upon how efficient a chatbot is as well. If you can call somebody and get the same answer in a minute or two, and it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to get through all the questions with a chatbot, somebody may say, I'm not so sure about this. So I think in certain situations there won't be that option to contact the service desk. You go to the chatbot, or nothing, or either that if you want to, like typical airline reservation, where you would go in and you might have to pay extra to make your own reservation, but if you want to do it through a chatbot, it's free. So I think that's kind of where it may go, but I really see that within the next year or two that this taking off as the AI improves a lot. I think you're going to see a lot more access to more information, specifically narrowed down to what you're trying to do.
Well, I like what you said. I like what you said there about giving options. Here's a chatbot. It'll be a little cheaper that way. If you're one of those people who just doesn't want to do a chatbot, click on this other button. Give people options. Don't force them down a particular path. But there are other people who the chatbot's going to work fine. They're going to do it. They're going to be happy. So and again, that reduces the load on the frontline service desk. And anytime we can do that, we're certainly happy to have that happen. But options. Okay. Give people options.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So, Ann, I wanted to say thank you very much. You can see this Contact RightStar information here. So there's a website you can visit. There's an email address. So we'd certainly love to hear from anybody out there if you want to talk to us just about process. And again, I think that's a very important thing. If you need a little bit of help, if you just want to call and talk to somebody, we have at RightStar, we have 3 IDLE experts, people that have been there, done this sort of thing, because process really does make a difference. People out there probably have a pretty decent tool set already that they can use, and so you might want to take advantage of what you have and utilize some of the features there before you decide to throw it out and find something else, or not. So again, we're certainly available. Again, we'd love to talk to you a little bit. And I think that's going to pretty much wrap things up for us. I want to go back to what I said initially, is that effective ITSM now is more important than ever in 2017 and certainly into 2018. And be very careful. I mean, the first of the year is a good time to really think about what is the future of your service desk. What do you want to accomplish this year? What are some of the things that you've been trying to get to and you haven't got to? Take a look at knowledge. It's an incredible ROI. Spend a little bit of effort. The software you probably already have, and you may just need a little bit of fine tuning. So I think that'll do it. I hope that you all can join us on another one of these webinars in the future. We do these about every 2 weeks. I think our next one will be the first week in January, or somewhere around there anyway. So